AI use in writing is a complicated topic that elicits strong opinions. When it comes to Royal Road, things get even more nuanced. Generally, AI-generated content or writing perceived to be written by AI is derided. However, using AI to generate cover art or for ads is embraced. What explains that discrepancy? Both visual and written content was used without permission to train generative AI models. Is it hypocritical to use one form of it while being against usage that threatens your creative work? I don't think there's clear answers for any of this. That's what makes discussion important. So join me, and we can explore this brave new world together. First up, let's check in with how things are going with my story. Unfortunately, not so great. Despite a steady stream of views, all other metrics have stagnated for about 3 weeks. There could be many explanations for this. Perhaps it's seasonal. I've also been very busy with work, so maybe my outreach isn't as effective. Regardless of why, it's hard not to feel a little bit discouraged. So what am I doing to cope, and how am I moving forward? One silver lining is I haven't had time to run my ad campaign yet, so that could greatly bolster my audience. I'm also in this for the long haul. I know there are plenty of readers who will love my story, I just need to find them. But the biggest thing that helped me was perspective. On Royal Road, I currently have 29 followers. It's easy to see that number and feel like no one cares. However, looking at the distribution of followers across the platform helps me reframe that. Based on Solomon's research, 62% of active fictions have 10 followers. Only 40% have 50 followers, 32% have 100, and roughly 10% have 1,000 or more. I'm nearing that 50 follower benchmark, so I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. I can set a short-term goal of reaching 50, and when I achieve that, working towards 100. I find breaking things down into achievable steps really helps my motivation. Hopefully I'll be able to celebrate some growth in the next video. Now on to the main topic, what inspired me to talk about AI and writing. Beyond it being a very relevant topic to cover, an author reached out to me on Royal Road who had used the tags AI-generated content and AI-assisted content. I honestly didn't know how I felt about that. Could associating with this author impact other people's impressions of my work? And where do I personally stand concerning AI? I'm trying to keep an open mind, but largely I have a very negative opinion of it. I don't think how the generative models were trained is ethical. I don't support the big tech companies behind it, except for Google, of course. Google's great. I think the impact it's had on the environment is already significant, and I think it's accelerated a long-standing trend of devaluing creative work. My career in professional sound has already been dramatically impacted, so I'm a bit salty. That said, I'm not going to focus on how I feel about AI. I think it's important to explore how it affects writers. A great place to start is Royal Road's policy on AI. I think their general stance is great. We have this new technology, it's affecting people in different ways, and it's changing a lot very quickly. Largely their approach is they want you to label work that was AI generated or AI assisted. Let's break those categories down. General assistive technology are spell checkers and tools like Grammarly. Many of these are built into writing software, and they're totally okay with that use. Basically, tools that maintain the author's voice are totally fine. Not only do you not have to tag the use of Grammarly, this article actually encourages you to use it. Do you use Grammarly? How do they define AI assistance? We're defining this level of using an AI tool as where it's the author's creativity and structure, but it uses the AI's voice and tone. In other words, you write something and then ask AI to improve it. They don't view this as necessarily bad, but are concerned it might limit the diversity of voices on the platform. If too many people use AI assistants and it starts making the same kind of suggestions, then a lot of the books might start reading the same. If you frequently use AI as a tool in this manner, you're obligated to disclose it with a tag. A big exception is you can only use this for your written work. You can't use AI for comments, reviews, forum posts, or private messages. There's one more exception. If your work only has a few passages involving AI-generated content, you can label it as AI-assisted. And finally, what's AI-generated? They define that as when an author is using a prompt to generate text through AI. They don't view that as an author writing, but want to be careful not to start a witch hunt. Detection of AI in writing has proven to be unreliable. Because of all that, Royal Road is not policing AI use. They're trusting that authors will disclose how and when they use AI. A quick summary of their rules is don't be lazy with AI use. Don't use AI for any engagement-related activities. And you're obligated to tag your own work. If you don't, reviewers can do so in their review. One big exception is using AI for translation purposes. Royal Road is an international community, so it's great to have tools for accessibility. If you use it in that fashion, they want the novel to be read and proofread by someone who knows the language to guarantee the accuracy. If that's the case, you do not need to tag your work. If no human reads, proofreads, and edits the translation, then it must be tagged as AI assisted, as it will retain the AI's tone and voice. Overall, I think this policy is very fair. It's flexible, it allows for changes in the future, and it makes an effort to understand how authors are using AI. The next question I want to explore is, how should we feel about AI training? At first glance, the Anthropic settlement of $1.5 billion would seem to indicate that training AI with copyrighted works is stealing. Surprisingly, that's not true. That case is actually determined that it was fair use for Anthropic to train its large language model in this manner. Personally, I don't agree with that decision. The case instead hinges on the storing and downloading of these books. It's also important to note that it's not a settlement with authors, it's a settlement with rights holders, including publishers. As with all aspects of this conversation, it's pretty complicated. It's hard to speak in absolutes. Delving back solely into my personal opinions, I think artists should be able to exclude their work from AI training, and if their work is used, they should be compensated for it. How to do that fairly is a totally different question. My main concern is that profit-driven companies are doing the scraping. They're raising significant money with this technology and charging for their services. So I think the only fair solution is to license work from creators. I'm not the only person confused by the rampant use of AI cover art on Royal Road. Opinions on the matter are highly divisive. Here are some of the arguments for using AI for covers. This is just a hobby. I don't have the money to spend on a cover. Because we're releasing our fiction for free, it's unreasonable to expect us to spend any money on the marketing. And AI is a better alternative to directly stealing other people's work. Sure, I guess. The people who use AI would have never paid anyone anyways, so they're not taking away anything. I more or less agree to this response to that sentiment. Normalizing AI use will have a ripple effect. It devalues creative work. My general problem with these arguments is the idea that people are not trying to make money with their writing. I think they're trying, but they don't want to risk putting any money up front to achieve that goal. I saw many users suggesting that once these authors start making money, they'll switch and stop using AI. I don't know if that's true. I think it will also affect professional rates. If you've gotten by spending $0, how likely are you to spend $3,000 on an artist later? I think it's unlikely. And that pushes rates down where people will expect around $300 maybe, which makes earning a living as an artist much more challenging. Additionally, cover art is more affordable than ever. Pre-made covers run about $100, that's what I used. Clip art collectives charge around $250, and commissioned work scales up from there. The main point I want to emphasize is if you're against using AI for writing, you should be consistent in how you avoid it in other forms. Show solidarity to your fellow creatives. Many Royal Road authors were upset to learn that their work had been scraped and turned into AI-narrated audiobooks. Understandably, but it's important to consider how this technology affects the world around us and not just our immediate situation. Environmental impact is one of those major considerations. When it comes to AI, the focus is then on data centers. Data centers aren't new. They've existed since the 1940s, but the rise of generative AI has increased their demand. What is different about generative AI is the power density it requires. A generative AI training cluster might consume 7 or 8 times more energy than a typical computing workload, says Noman Bashir. That's a lot of qualifications. In North America, power consumption nearly doubled in 2023. A lot of that had to do with AI. This article from the UN gets into some more specifics. The electronics in these data centers require a tremendous amount of raw resources to construct. They produce hazardous waste like mercury and lead. Immense amounts of water are required to cool the components. This article claims that AI-related infrastructure may soon consume 6 times more water than Denmark, a nation of 6 million. And finally, fossil fuels are often used to meet the power demands of these new centers. A search through ChatGPT consumes 10 times the electricity of a Google search, but that might be inflated. This article suggests it's more like 5 times, which is still a lot. One way to offset some of this is to use AI to study patterns and large amounts of data when it comes to the environment. Like I said before, this is not cut and dry. Now that I've got my tinfoil hat on, we can get more into how I really feel. This article in the Jacobin resonated with me. The whole article is worth a read, but the point I want to focus on is when AI is used to justify layoffs. Under the guise of technological inevitability, companies are using the AI boom to rewrite the social contract. laying off employees, rehiring them at lower wages, intensifying workloads, and normalizing precarity. In short, these are political choices masquerading as technical necessities. AI is not the cause of the layoffs, but their justification. Like I mentioned earlier with the devaluation of creative work, corporate downsizing is a trend that's existed for decades. AI may be speeding that up, but the root of the problem are the business practices of these large corporations. Now for my tinfoil predictions. I think large corporations are trying to normalize AI use. They're targeting creative areas first because people largely don't care about whiny artists. They want to get us hooked on using these tools, and then the price is going to skyrocket. And guess who's going to be able to afford them then? Large corporations. Naturally, I could be wrong about all of that. My hope for this video was not to shame people who use AI or preach to the choir of those who hate it, but instead to think about the bigger picture of all of this, how our individual choices can affect the rest of the world. Times are a-changing, and I think we have a responsibility to ease our way into the future. I'm excited to see how these tools develop and how the ethics of their use change.